Hey everyone, let's look at democracy and let's look at constitutionalism in our states. Every state has a constitution, and remember that the constitutions that you find in the states govern the governments. They provide structure and organization. They have rules and regulations. They limit the powers of government, and of course they protect the rights of the citizens in that state as well. And of course they also have their branches of government listed, similar to how you have it in our United States Constitution. We promote the idea of limited government in our country, and also we have the ability to understand that our states do have the rights, but their rights or their laws are the supreme law of the state, and they are subordinate to the U.S. Constitution. So we have something called the Supremacy Clause in our United States Constitution that says whatever is a national law overrides what you might find at the state. But we'll get more into that, I should say, throughout the semester when it comes to particular issues where it seems like the national government ignores what the states are doing and the states sort of challenge national authority as well. The earliest constitutions date back all the way to the Magna Carta and also in our colonial history as well. State constitutions have a Bill of Rights, our separation of powers. They do give you the idea that the governor isn't so strong. You do have a legislature, legislative powers, what local governments can and can't do. Things about our debt, taxation, and finance are also listed. And in some areas of the country, we do regulate our interest groups at the state level. We can always change a constitution through what we call a legislative proposal or a popular initiative, the less popular form of the Constitutional Convention, and our constitutional revision commissions are rarely used as well. So the most common one is our legislative proposal, and also the second most common would be our popular initiative. You know, it's government for, by, and of the people. That's what we're talking about when it comes to democracy. But understand that when we talk about democracy, we're talking about a representative form in this country, which is also what we would call republicanism. Has nothing to do with the political party. But it's called republicanism, where we elect people to make the decisions for us. We have in states direct democracy principles and programs and processes, which we'll get into. But overall, we have what is called a Republican system of government where we elect people. We would call that a representative democracy. But what's really cool to talk about is the direct democratic principles that we have, which came about in the late 19th century with the populists and the progressives trying to change the way our governments were working to make sure that the machines, the machines that we have in the city of Chicago, even to this day to some degree, we were hoping that the machines would not control the public as much. So we supported women's suffrage, the women's right to vote, civil service exams to get a job in government, restrictive immigration laws did exist because of those populists and progressives as well, but they were also responsible for three forms of direct democracy that we'll get into right now. In direct democracy, we want more people to participate. So we have what is called an initiative process, a referendum process, and a recall process. The initiative process involves a percentage of voters getting on a petition, having an idea that they want voted into law, but they give it to the public to vote directly on that law. If the public votes in favor of it, it becomes law. If the public votes no to an initiative, then it dies out. A referendum takes place in the legislature before they give it to the public to vote on it, and a recall removes or allows voters to remove an elected official before the end of his or her term. About 24 states have an initiative process. Every state has a referendum, and only about 19 states and the District of Columbia have a recall. So, of course, there are people who are in favor of direct democracy. Of course, there are people who are going to be against direct democracy as well. The big thing about direct democracy is that it expands the population's ability to get involved in our government. It stimulates interest. It improves election day turnout, and you have more trust in government. There is more accountability from your government as well, especially if they know that more people are going to participate. Arguments against it: hey, we already have representatives. They know what's best. Arguments for a representative democracy is that too many people involved in government, it's going to hurt things. You're going to have a rule by the mob rather than a rule by an educated population of people. You have the decline of representative government that's taking place, that people believe that there aren't enough people involved in our government, that really the representatives aren't doing the bidding of the people. The representatives are doing the bidding of the interest groups. We want to make sure that we want to protect individual liberties. We want to make sure that we protect the rights of minorities as well in our government. So we want to get away from the idea of having interest groups dictating what's going on. We want to have the people dictating what's going on in our government directly. Some state initiative efforts that have taken place over the years, dealing with anything from eminent domain regarding private property to education, affirmative action, immigration, and taxation. Initiatives typically look sexy, they look fun, and all this, everybody wants to get involved. But understand that with an initiative campaign, even with a recall campaign, sometimes the best type of participation, or I should say the best intentions in participation, really comes from a well-funded group of people who want their ideas pushed ahead of others. So buyer beware that, yes, you might have more people involved in initiative, directly involved in the legislative process, but where are they getting their information from? They're getting their information from people who are well connected to the political process. So many people, as much as they want to be involved, where are they getting their information from? They're getting their information from television. They're getting their information from the internet. They're getting their information from radio. And what are they getting? They're getting 30-second sound bites that are paid for by these special interests, the same special interests that we're supposedly against. So you want to make sure that you get your information from a credible source, not from a biased source. So as much as we want to have direct democracy, remember, in our, let's say at the national level, it's all representative democracy. And at the state and local level, as much as you have direct democracy in pockets in this nation, it's all about representative democracy there. So we can't forget that.